solved. You know, look how great, you know, we'll all feel good. We can have a photo op and run again for re-election. Why would we think if it hasn't worked in the past, it would work in the future? That's the first point. The second point is, if anyone here seriously believes that Congress is going to pass a workable, tight cap-and-trade system, I would say you don't understand how the political process works. I don't care what both presidential candidates are saying. I don't care how many U.S. senators say they're for it. I don't care how many congressmen say they're for it. When they get in there and they actually have to vote to increase the cost of energy, it ain't going to happen. They have no idea as to the level of lobbying and pressure that's going to be put upon them. So my view is we may pass a cap and trade, we may pass some sort of carbon tax that'll be just like Europe. It'll have so many holes in it that we will not have accomplished anything. We might think that we have, we might all go home and feel like we felt good, and that's where we're putting all of our efforts. So that gets me to my fourth point, okay, the point where we can feel good, all right? So it's not quite so pessimistic. My fourth point is that science can solve this problem. I really believe that. I think, Wes, you've written some papers about how we are extractors and users of natural resources, and we are. Left to our, you know, to no restrictions, we would burn every ounce of oil and we would burn every pound of coal, and that's just a way that we've gone throughout human history. But once science comes up with solutions that provide people an incentive, they make it easy to switch and to do the right thing, we do it. And how do we know that? Well, look at compact fluorescent light bulbs. People are screwing them in like crazy right now. Are they doing it because they're worried about the water flow, you know, in South America? No. They're doing it because they cost less than a normal light bulb. 3 years ago, Ford couldn't get rid of their hybrids. And I was the beneficiary of that. I went in and said, I've been reading about this Ford Escape. Do you have one? Heck yes, we have one. You really want it? And now, what's happened? Price of oil gets over $100 a barrel. People want hybrids. I firmly believe that because the price of oil has reached the level that it has, a level that I believe OPEC never wanted it to reach, that the auto companies have now permanently shifted their focus so that within 3 or 4 years we'll have the plug-in hybrid, and within 10 or 15 years we'll have fully electric vehicles. My point is that we don't need to unleash the politicians to solve this problem, because they can't solve a damn thing. I mean, you've seen that this last week. We need to unleash our scientists. In the United States, we spend from the federal government $2.5 billion a year on research and development in alternative energy. That's with a multi-trillion-dollar budget. The federal government gives the National Renewable Energy Lab $2.5 billion a year to study alternative energy. We as Americans spend $5 billion every year on Halloween candy and costumes. I'm serious. We spend twice as much money on Halloween as we do on federal R&D of alternative research. What I'm suggesting is not that you all abandon your efforts, whether it's to lobby for cap and trade or to lobby for carbon tax or come to Topeka and help us out, because we need your help on so many issues. But what I'm suggesting is that there may be an area of common ground. And the area of common ground is that we need Congress and the next president to dramatically increase funding for R&D of all of these technologies. It is not a waste of money. The potential results are real, because we are incredibly close to solving some of the major issues that could fundamentally change all the problems that I just talked about. The first thing that we need to do is continue the research on storage of the lithium battery so that we jumpstart the conversion to the electric car. We are incredibly close to those breakthroughs. That funding is now being done primarily by private capital. We need to support that and continue to encourage it. The second thing that we need to do is we need to ramp up R&D on solar. Now, I continue to hear, everybody gives me these articles. Mark, why the hell do we need to be building any coal plants? We can just do it with solar. Look, there's enough power from the sun to, power 400 Earths. And, well, let me tell you something. Solar has been a complete failure. We have 1 million megawatts of power in the United States. 1 million. Guess how many are solar? 4,000. 4,000, okay? So we need to get real about solar. It costs too much. People aren't going to install something that costs 3 times what it costs for other forms of electricity. But the good news is that we are about 2 or 3 technological advancements away from dramatically lowering the cost of solar so that it would become cost competitive. But it's going to take some money, and it's going to take more money than the private capital markets are able to do on their own. And then the final thing that we need to spend a lot of money researching, but a lot less money than we spend on a zillion other things in Washington, is we need to work on storage of electricity. Wind is wonderful. I'm as big a proponent as anybody in the state. Solar is great, but until we learn how to store that electricity so that it becomes usable 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every single day of the year, it is not a solution to the problem. So we need to do that. And then finally, we will stumble onto other things through R&D. We always do. There will be side benefits. People will figure some things out, and ultimately it will provide, in my view, a solution to all these problems. So, again, I'm not suggesting that you abandon your efforts, but I'm suggesting that we don't forget about R&D. We can create bipartisan support for R&D. Why? Because there's one thing Congress is incredibly good at: spending money. They're great at it. They're really, really good at it. So I think we can get Congress and the next president to do that, to spend a ton of money, to figure these things out, because ultimately that's the solution. And the reason that it's the international solution is that the beautiful thing about scientific developments and R&D is we can share them with the rest of the world, either through licensing agreements or because they just steal them or whatever. If we figure out a solution, if we figure out a way to actually create carbon-free coal, or if we figure out a way to store electricity, it will be adopted all over the world, and we truly will have a solution to this problem. So let me end with 2 quotes from Winston Churchill. The first has absolutely nothing to do with my speech, but I just like it. So you're stuck hearing it. And he was so smart and so witty, and he had the very first woman elected as a member of Parliament was a woman named Lady Astor, and she was an incredible conservative, and she just caused him all kinds of problems. And they were at a tea at a castle, and she said to him, as they were drinking tea and arguing about something, she said, "Sir Winston, if you were my husband, I would be tempted to put poison in your tea." And he said back to her without missing a beat, "If I were your husband, I would be tempted to drink it." That has nothing to do with the speech, but whatever. But the Winston Churchill quote that does have to do with the speech is the quote. He was in the middle of basically saving the free world and having to make some very tough decisions. And he said this: "History will be kind to me because I intend to write it." History will be kind to me because I intend to write it. You can sit back and watch what happens next year, the next 5 years, the next 10 years, or the next 20 years. Or you can be active with the Land Institute. You can help us with our efforts. You can promote R&D. If cap and trade or carbon tax are your thing, you can promote that. And be involved. Because if we all pull together, we won't have to worry about what happens to history. Together we can write it. Thank you very much.